We are live for the MLB Live Before Lock show here on Tuesday. It's 6 p.m. here on the East Coast, 5 p.m. there in Chicago. Also, Alex, how you doing, brother?
Jason, man, it's great to finally do a show with you. Like, I've been seeing you take over the DFS airwaves, man. You've been killing it. So, looking forward to talking some bats with you.
Multi-talented over here, whether it's MMA, NASCAR, MLB, NBA. I can kind of talk about it. When it comes to sports, I can pretty much talk about anything.
That's an amazing talent because some sports, like I'm not naming any, but they may occur on Sunday. It can be tough to really to talk about for 60 minutes, and you've been doing a great job. So,
yeah, going back to my sports radio days here in Tampa, you got to kind of know about a little bit about everything. Of course, we are here to break down tonight's baseball slate. We got 11 games here on the main slate. Start here in just over an hour now, 7:05 here on the East Coast. Of course, we are sponsored by Yahoo. Alex, we're going to get into questions as we do go on through leading up to lock here. But we want to kick off this show by talking about the starting pitchers tonight. And, obviously you got to go to Awesemo.com. You got to check out our top pitchers tool over there. And I know right at the top, you got Yu Darvish just going for the Cubs.
Yeah, I mean, Yu Darvish has been amazing this season, above a 30% strikeout rate. Anytime you have that, it's going to be hard to put up runs on a guy. And he's got a matchup today versus the Cardinals. The Cardinals were hit hard by the COVID positive tests, so maybe they're a little bit of a weaker roster right now. So you got a team that has plenty of Ks, and you got a great strikeout pitcher, so there's really nothing to hate. And one additional thing is the over-under of this game is only 7.6, so that really is a great sign for Darvish tonight.
I guess if you were going to look at a possible nugget note that may not exactly excite you about Darvish is that he did go 0-2 with a 4.07 ERA and 4 starts against the Cardinals last year.
Yeah, I mean, those are always fun to look at. I mean, that's not that definitely. I'm hoping maybe it will scare some people off because he definitely looks like a great option tonight. But the thing is, you got to pay the price because he's above 10K on DraftKings, 57 on Yahoo. I mean, that's about as high as pitchers get. And he's not exactly like a Garrett Cole or a Scherzer. He's a great pitcher, but kind of a second tier. So you're really paying a high price for a good pitcher. So that is definitely a tough decision to make because we got some other good guys today as well.
Pitching for the Cardinals is Daniel Ponce de Leon, 0-1 with a 6.75 ERA. He's got 8 strikeouts over on DK, 7,000. What's kind of your take on him in this spot? Do you think he should be someone to maybe a sneaky, value play?
I think that the conditions for pitching are probably pretty good in Wrigley tonight. We see 69-degree temperatures. That's obviously a great sign for pitching. But the Cubs lineup, we're fortunate to have all the lineups for tonight's games already, so we can really talk about these matchups. They just don't – I guess they're decent for strikeouts, just about average, but they have about 20% more extra base hits in the lineup. They draw more walks than average. It's a pretty tough lineup to go up against, and Daniel Ponce de Leon he's a decent pitcher. 3.6 xFIP so far this year is pretty good, but definitely not a stud. So maybe a guy that it could be a contrarian option tonight.
Looking at the top pitcher tool that we have over at Awesemo.com, you also have Dylan Cease, who's going up for the White Sox, taking on the Tigers in this one.
Yeah, Dylan Cease is a guy that he's struggled to get it going this year so far. I think his strikeout rate last year was 24%. This year it's only 16%. And that's really it would be a really troubling sign, except one thing I do is I'll look at the betting markets a lot, and they really are bullish on his strikeout upside tonight. Depending on the book, I saw above 6, about 6.75 if you work it out with the juice. And that is a really high figure, and he's a decent discount from Darvish. The Tigers, of course, like they're a rebuilding team. They kind of stink. So you gotta like the matchup as far as run prevention as well.
Yeah, this note on MLB.com about Dylan. He is 4-0 lifetime in 4 starts against the Tigers. The rest of the league, he's 3-8.
Oh man, yeah. So definitely lock him in tonight. I mean, like he's good against cats. I mean, like that's definitely what's happening here.
And on the other side, you have a pitcher in Tariq who is a number 50 prospect. In baseball, it's his big league debut. I mean, obviously, I know you're going to be looking at his minor league numbers and see how they translate over there. But it's all, you walk into it as like kind of an unknown. I mean, this is a guy that's on the big stage for the first time in his career. How will he perform?
Yeah, I mean, the main thing here is just the pitching or pitch count. So, like, although Tariq, he's shown like remarkable strikeout upside. I did read today that he's capped out at 50 pitches, so I just can't recommend him for DFS. But definitely a guy to keep an eye on because he clearly has amazing strikeout stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it takes me back to about a week and a half ago when people were talking about Blake Snell as he was kind of working his pitch count up, and it was when he was taking on the Red Sox, and it's like, okay, say he goes for maybe 5 innings, can he get enough strikeouts to where, and obviously we're talking about 2 different salary type pitchers, but in that case, so I think it was 9,400 that day. It's like, could he get enough strikeouts in maybe as little as 4 innings to pay off that price?
I know, yeah. I mean, it could happen. Like, we've seen crazy things. I know, like, one of the Tigers relievers, Tyler Alexander, got 9 Ks in one appearance. So, I mean, it's definitely possible, but you got to play the odds here. And if he's going up against maybe 12 batters, then if he's really good, he's going to get 4 strikeouts, and you can't love that kind of fantasy performance.
What's your thoughts on Carlos Carrasco going for the Indians tonight against the Pirates?
Carrasco is a good strikeout pitcher for sure. He definitely is more inconsistent than some other guys, but he's at 30% strikeouts. The only thing is the Pirates bats, they're not good for strikeout numbers. You got Adam Frazier leading off, Kevin Newman hitting second. These guys strike out in the low teens. That just makes it twice as hard to get strikeouts at the top of the order. So if the matchup was a little bit better, he'd be up there with Cease and with Darvish, but just he has the worst matchup of the 3. So he's the guy I'm least excited about.
And for the Pirates, JT, the question more is he going to go 4 innings? Could he potentially go 5 innings? And I know we're going to talk about the hitters, here shortly, but I would have to imagine that he's really not on your radar at all in this spot.
Definitely, yeah. As you're saying, he's just not going to go deep in the game. I just am expecting him to go maybe like 3 or 4 innings, so that kind of takes him off the radar.
Another pitcher that we've been looking at today, Mata going for the Twins against the Brewers. Burness going to be on the mound for the Brewers.
Yeah. So Maeda, he's a decent strikeout pitcher, about 25%. The matchup with the Brewers is one that is bad in the sense that they have a lot of power. The first 5 guys in the order all hit homers, and they strike out about average because they're swinging for those fences. So it's kind of a boom bust spot, I would say. It looks like Minnesota's minus 150 favorite. So I'm thinking maybe that'll make people a little bit more excited about Maeda than they should be. But he's like super expensive today, so he could be like a contrarian option. The only issue is I don't think it's a great strategy in MLB DFS to go contrarian by spending up a pitcher.
We mentioned about Blake Snell a little while ago in comparison contrast here. He's going for the Rays tonight against the Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, Blake Snell, terrific pitcher, but the pitch count just hasn't been good. So last game, he had his highest pitch count at 70. So you're thinking maybe he goes 75 or 80 if you're lucky. And if he was cheap, that would be no problem, but he's not. He's just kind of expensive. So not a guy I'm really looking at tonight, but he's going up against the Yankees as well, so that definitely is a bad sign.
He pitched 3 scoreless innings in the first meeting earlier this year. At that price point on DraftKings at 9,500, is there a K number that you believe he would have to reach for it to pay off?
Yeah, you'd want probably 6 Ks maybe, and it's possible, but this Yankees lineup, it's about average as far as Ks. The thing is, at Yankee Stadium, being a left-handed pitcher is an advantage because it's a stadium that favors left-handed batters. So as far as the pitching spot, it's not horrible, but the price just is a little bit high for a guy that is going to be going maybe 5 innings at most, and the price you're paying per pitch is just higher than other guys.
So we got Tanaka on the mound for the Yankees. Now you mentioned about the left-handed bats. 7 of the 9 guys in the Rays bats bat left-handed.
Yeah, I think the Rays have impressive lineup tonight. I mean, you got a lot of power, about 10% above average, and they have some strikeouts too, about average as far as that. But it's interesting to see that the Rays are actually the favorite in this game, going up against Tanaka, and that is a combination of the lineup being pretty good, and then also just Snell and Tanaka like being a large gap in talent there. So Tanaka is not really a guy I'm going to be looking at a ton tonight.
In terms of the matchup between the Dodgers and the Mariners, are you looking at either pitcher in this matchup?
Tony Gonsolin is kind of interesting. He had an amazing performance last game. I'm sure a lot of people will be box score watching that one. He doesn't have a long track record of being a great strikeout pitcher, but Seattle has been like the team to target for pitching this year. So I'm thinking that maybe that's going to combine to make people a little bit too high on Tony Gonsolin. And he's definitely a guy I'm happy enough to fade because the Dodgers just don't run their starting pitching out for very long on average. So there's a decent chance of a bust here.
When we're looking at pitchers under that 8,000 range on DK, is Nate Pearson one of those pitchers that people should be looking at?
Let me pull him up here. So he's decent, about average strikeout pitcher. He got a decent matchup versus the Orioles. The price at 7,400 on DraftKings is a little high, but 29 on Yahoo, that's more where I think he should be. So a decent option if he really fits that salary construction that you're going for in your lineup, but Pearson's not really a guy I want to be leading on tonight.
We talk about pitchers who are trying to stretch themselves out. Josh Tomlin going for the Braves. They're talking 4 innings for him in the spot against the Nationals, with Austin Voith going for the Nats.
Yeah, that's a fade with Tomlin. He's been getting absurdly good strikeout numbers this year so far, but just because he, as you mentioned, is going to be really heavily limited in this game, I don't think that that Tomlin's really a good option tonight. Even though he's a good pitcher. On the other side, you got Voth going up against Atlanta. That's it's a below average matchup, and he's the the Braves don't strike out as much as average on their lineup tonight, about 5% less. So there's no reason I would pay the price tag that Voth has on the sites tonight.
The only other game we haven't mentioned in terms of pitching is the Mets and the Marlins. Mejia going for the Marlins and Oswalt going for the Mets.
Yeah, we got a pitching change there where David Peterson, I believe, was supposed to start for the Mets. So Corey Oswalt stepping in. He's really not a good strikeout pitcher, so that's not someone I'm going to be considering in DFS tonight. And Mejia on the other side, he's really cheap on DraftKings at $5K. So maybe just because of that, he's worth a look. But a guy that you're going to be lucky if he goes 5 innings tonight.
Of course, this is MLB Live Before Lock, and we are sponsored by Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports, the most trusted name in fantasy sports. Yahoo DFS now includes CSV upload and CSV edit features for those looking to play multiple lineups. Make better choices. Choose Yahoo Daily Fantasy. Of course, you always hear about us talking about the great tools we have over Awesemo.com, and get all those great Awesemo Plus tools and content for the MLB DFS slate with an Awesemo Plus MLB Weekly Pass for $15.95. This includes full access to Awesemo's leading player projections, ownership projections, and an all-new top pitchers tool and more. Get your pass today. And one of those great tools that I know is always a go-to for me is that top stack tool that Alex you put together here. And obviously everyone wants to know who some of your top stacks are for tonight's slate.
Yeah, I think that we got a lot of great teams to choose from tonight. So I'm going to definitely have exposure to a lot of different teams. The Phillies versus Boston, Zach Godley starting. He's a decent pitcher, but the park factor at Fenway is really good. So you see them with a 6.3 team total. The only thing is that's going to really drive ownership to them as well. So I'm going to have some Phillies, but if I'm picking Phillies, I'm going to want to mix it up with some other contrarian options. So one example could be Minnesota versus we got Minnesota versus Corbin Burns. Corbin Burns is a good pitcher, but that is causing the Twins to be underowned. And it's kind of making combinations like that of like a high ownership and low ownership stack that can win you a big GPP.
When it comes to who the Phillies have got going today, I mean, obviously, people are going to look at names like Harper, JT, some other ones. Is there a favorite bat you have in this lineup?
It's interesting because we see that like pretty much every batter is getting significant ownership in our ownership projections. One tip I have about this is I noticed that Alec Boehm, he's batting 6, a pretty average player. His ISO on the year is 14%, on base 33%, but he's 3K, and that's really getting a lot of ownership onto him. So if you're stacking the Phillies, you might be able to differentiate a little bit by leaving Boehm off your lineup and maybe paying up for Didi Gregorius, who's on the other end, who's just really expensive tonight.
Mm-hmm. The Mets stack, when you look at, their 4, 5, 6, spots here, Conforto, Cano, and Alonso, is that a stack that you believe is going to be pretty popular tonight?
It looks like the top of the order is really popular, but once you go down the order, I mean, you got Alonso. We project him for 1% ownership. He's the most expensive guy in the order, and he's batting 6. So that could be a good contrarian option for your Mets stack. So that's definitely one way I'm going to be looking at it is like Brandon Nimmo leading off is going to be super popular tonight because he's really cheap. But the rest of the lineup has a lot lower ownership. So there's some good options for stacking up the Mets.
Is there some good options bat-wise on the other side with the Marlins that stick out to you?
Marlins team total of 4.5, so that not particularly inspiring, but they're a team that really has little power in their lineup today. But they do have stolen bases, so Jonathan VR, Monty Harrison, those are a couple of guys that that could steal some bags tonight. So not crazy, but not a team that really screams stacking to me.
What about the Dodgers?
The Dodgers, really talented team, going up against Marco Gonzalez, not really a guy that we're too worried about. So that could be a decent option tonight. I don't love the park though. The Dodgers Stadium, it's going to be, I guess because this is a 4 p.m. game in LA, it's going to actually be pretty hot. So it's 89 degrees, and that makes it a lot more appealing than if it was a 10 p.m. game. So that's definitely a spot you can go to.
Yeah, just looking at the weather on MLB.com right now, it lists as current temperature in LA, 94 degrees.
Yeah, that's up there.
That's like being here in Tampa. That's kind of weather we're getting. How about the Blue Jays?
Let me pull up the Blue Jays here. So they got a 5.7 team total. That is really high for them. Just about like an average lineup as far as power, as far as getting on base. But the stadium with Camden Yards and going up against Wade LeBlanc, a weak pitcher, that's going to make them really popular. I noticed that Randall Grichuk batting second is really, really cheap across the industry, and he's getting a ton of ownership. So that would be a decision point is, do you want to play Grichuk or do you want to leave him off your roster? Maybe hope that he has a bad game while the rest of the team excels.
Looking at another team is, I know it's a team I always look at, especially that infield of the Cleveland Indians.
Yeah, the Indians, they're definitely a good contrarian stack today. I like the fact that they're on the road because you get that extra half inning if they're doing well. And then they're expensive as well. This applies mostly to DraftKings. On FanDuel, they're really cheap. So they're going to be way more popular on FanDuel. So I think on DraftKings, the Indians are going to like spend up to be contrarian spot. Whereas on FanDuel, they might be like a good chalk stack.
I know Terry wrote over at Awesemo.com about a Cub stack, a five-man stack going with Kipnis, Bryant, Rizzo, Baez, and Schwarber.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love the Cubs tonight because the park factor is pretty negative, but they have a lot of talent, so I mean, it could definitely get there.
Is there a stack that, based on your projections, that you feel is going to have some lower ownership that maybe should be higher than what it is?
Yeah, I think the Twins fit that bill. They're just expensive tonight. The Indians, I have them at 4% ownership and a 7.6% chance of being the top stack in my top stacks tool. So they're a team that really jumps out there. So I think the Indians would really fit the bill.
We mentioned about the Rays and amount of left-handed bats they've got in that lineup going against Tanaka. Just kind of looking at what we have right now as our top stack tool for them. And the value. Do you see a lot of value in the Rays in that spot?
They're really cheap in the middle of the order. Yandy Diaz batting third, 2,800 on DraftKings, and then the prices at the bottom of the order are really, really cheap. But Austin Meadows and Brandon Lowe are pretty expensive. So it's interesting because I think it's going to funnel you into a certain lineup construction there. So if you're just loading up on the Rays as like a value stack, that might get you into trouble.
Yeah, before we got started, you got this general question about building lineups where it says, when building lineups, do you look for one smash spot player and build around them, or do you start a deep diving for those value picks?
I think, of course, I'm using Fantasy Cruncher and stuff when I'm building my lineups. So I kind of approach it like I'm going to build a bunch of lineups and then kind of sift through them to try to figure out ones that have like the line of construction I'm going for. In most DFS sports, that's going to be some combination of popular players that are in really good spots and contrarian players that might be high risk reward spots. So in baseball, the ownership's a little different because everyone's stacking. So although like you might have a situation where like two batters on the same team are low owned, like the people that do have them have both of them. So that means like I'm really trying to look at the ownership of the stack as a whole. And I kind of see my lineup as like pitcher, stack. And I'm trying to like mix and match those to have some good balance of low owned and good plays.
Of course, be sure to smash that thumbs up button right here on YouTube. If you got any questions, start lining those up in the chat. We'll get them as we go on. Is there any other stacks that we haven't mentioned that you believe we should be?
Let me pull my notes here. We got, maybe the Yankees, like a really talented team, going up against Blake Snell. The Rays have good pitching for sure, but that could be one option as far as a contrarian stack to go to.
Jordan asks, is going all Darvish and Cease a scary idea?
Well, I think it's a good combination of pit players for sure. Like I don't see any problem with going Darvish Cease, but it doesn't leave you a lot of money to spend on bats, so that could be a problem where a lot of people who have that might have very similar lineups to you.
Someone had asked about Carlos Carrasco. If you got to worry about his walking 9 in his last 2 starts and his velocity drop.
Yeah, in baseball, like you got to worry about pretty much everyone, because any pitcher can get blown up. It doesn't matter if they're Garrett Cole or Carlos Carrasco. He is a good pitcher, but as you mentioned, like his control isn't really great. And maybe that makes him like a little bit more volatile than other pitchers. But like since every pitcher is very volatile, I'm just ready to take chances on any of them and accept the possibility that maybe they go out and have a really bad game.
I know someone over in Slack asking about it. Is there any love for the White Sox tonight?
Oh, they're a great talent. As far as talent, they have a lot of it. So I like them as kind of like a spend up option where maybe they're not garnering as much ownership as their talent suggests they should. So I think it could be a good play.
What about the Marlins bats?
The Marlins, like they had a decent lineup to start the year. Now their lineup's pretty depleted and the prices aren't even really that good. They're at home. That's another negative because you don't get that 9th inning if they're doing well. So they'd probably be towards the bottom of my list, but it's baseball. So you can really stack any team, and there's probably good ways to stack any team, but it wouldn't be a team I'm focusing on.
Someone asked Juan Soto or Bryce Harper?
Well, I think that's a tough question to answer because both of them are tremendous plays. So I would probably go with Soto because he's a little bit more expensive and the projection is not as high, and maybe that would funnel ownership away from him.
In terms of Dodgers, obviously Mookie Betts has just been hitting the cover off the ball. But is there somebody that maybe is a value pick in that lineup at all?
I think Chris Taylor is always really cheap. He's batting 6th tonight. Now, he's not a guy that has a lot of upside as far as stolen bases or homers, but just the lineup spot itself is valuable enough that I'd take some shots on him. And then you have AJ Pollock batting fourth at 3,900. That is a really good price. So they're going to be high owned, but also good options tonight.
Someone's asking about who do you see as the best third baseman for cash?
Oh, man. Let me pull my projections for that. So for cash, I'm pretty much trying to build a lineup that has the highest projection. So I'm just going to look at my projections and see who's got the best value. And we got Alec Boehm. This will be my cash option probably because he's 3K. And he's just way too cheap and in a good spot. So I think Boehm would be a good play as far as cash.
Who do you think gets the most strikeouts tonight?
Darvish and Cease are probably your best bets because they're Darvish. He's got the highest strikeout rate on the slate as far as guys that are going to go 100 pitches. So that's a great bet. And then Cease, he's got that matchup with the Tigers. So the Tigers, they might be easy to beat up on. And you mentioned his record versus the Tigers so far is immaculate.
Now, like on FanDuel, Darvish is 9,900, Cease is 8,200. Obviously, you mentioned about the strikeout ability of Darvish, but do you think there's a little value there because of the price point and maybe be able to add someone else in your lineup that maybe Cease has a little better value for you on FanDuel?
That's definitely a reasonable point, yeah, because you're getting that discount, and when you have a cheaper pitcher, that allows you to get good bats and be contrarian, where if you take the expensive pitcher, you have to be chalky if you want the good bats. So I think that Cease is a good option on FanDuel, although like both Cease and Darvish, they're getting massive ownership tonight on FanDuel. So it's not like you're taking Cease and getting a big leg up on the competition.
Mm-hmm. In terms of the SP2 slot on DraftKings, who are some pitchers that you think that you got to be looking at, especially looking at the ownership of where they might fall in at?
Yeah, that's a great question because if you do spend down at your second pitcher, that is an advantage. Cease at 8,500 on DraftKings is a reasonable price, so I think that would be a decent option. And then maybe going with a mid-price range, mid-price guy for your second option. That could be one construction. As far as other guys, Corbin Burns, like not a guy that will go deep, but he's got a good strikeout upside. And then you got Mejia for the Marlins. He's just really cheap, 5K. So, like in the absence of good options, taking a cheap option is probably the best option.
Something to note, news coming out of the Braves, Nick Markakis has been potentially exposed to COVID-19. He's tested negative for the virus, but he has been placed on the injured list. And Christian Pache, the outfielder, has been called up, and he is available tonight. Not in the lineup, but it will be available. So someone in the chat had mentioned about Markakis potentially being scratched, and that's the official statement from the Braves.
Awesome. Well, that means we might get some people that don't adjust their lineups, so that could be a positive for us. So make sure you take Markakis out if you have him, and then Matt Adams is replacing him. So Matt Adams could be a guy that might go under owned just because people already built their lineups.
Yeah, Adams scheduled to be in the 5-hole, right behind Marcell Ozuna in that Braves lineup.
Yeah, so maybe if you're building a lineup now, going to Matt Adams in your Braves stack could be a nice play. And let's see, he's a first baseman, so I don't think people would be late swapping from Markakis to Adams. So they would probably have to start from scratch, and that means Matt Adams could be a good play that goes under owned tonight.
Over in Slack, got asked about 50% Cease and 40% Darvish on FanDuel, 150 entry. Too much?
50% Cease and 100% Darvish, did you say?
No, 40% Darvish.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like the field's going to have about 40%. So that is just kind of like not taking a stand one way or the other, which is fine. I think you make more you make most of your money in MLB DFS with the stacks, and then the pitching is somewhat secondary, in my opinion.
In terms of, obviously, with the Braves, how much does that affect how you project them to do tonight with Markakis out of the lineup?
It probably doesn't matter like very much. Like Markakis, he's been a solid like player, but he's not like a guy that lights up the stats. So maybe just a neutral impact.
Someone would ask of how much De Leon is too much.
Well, I think it could make sense in the context of a lineup to have De Leon. 7K, and he's a decent strikeout pitcher. The weather is good, but he doesn't really stand out to me as an exceptional option. So I personally would try to mix it up with players like that don't really jump out as great options. But if you have some read as why De Leon is a great play tonight, like then maybe there could be something to it. I just don't see it.
Is there a pitcher on tonight's slate that, I mean, like, we all have a DFS where a pitcher just screws you, so he kind of becomes like, on the bad list. But is there someone on tonight's slate that's just like on the Alex, I don't feel too comfortable about him in the spot list?
Well, I think that Cease is going to be the best answer there because he, let's see, I guess he had 3 good starts in a row. But when you go back to well, actually, I'll scratch that, I guess. He's been doing pretty good, so that's not really a good answer. Honestly, like it doesn't feel like we've had too much of any of these guys so far, so it's hard to say. But Carrasco is a guy that he's really inconsistent, so that could be one guy. But I'm willing to gamble on him tonight.
Mainly because it's the Pirates.
Well, the Pirates, as I mentioned, they're not like a team that strikes out a ton. So just kind of, I guess maybe Carrasco is not my favorite because of the price tag, but he is a guy that I would feel comfortable with. But he doesn't have the greatest record.
Do you got a favorite, a pick to click to hit the long ball tonight?
Yeah, we got to do our home run picks. I forgot. What I don't want to steal your pick, man. So you go first here.
No, I'll let you go first. So
no, you go first. Know where you're All right, I'll go first. I mean, I don't take this super seriously, so I'll just be a homer and go with my hometown team, the Detroit Tigers. Miguel Cabrera. He seems to have lost his ability to really be a great DFS player, but maybe for one night. So let's go with Miggy Cabrera.
I'll go Nelson Cruz.
That seems like a safe bet.
That was definitely safe. Like I was like, okay, can I go with somebody from the Rays? Like do the hometown pick. I mean, Brandon Lowe, I think would be an easy kind of. He's hot right now. Choi, I think might be the probably if I was going to go with the Ray, that'd probably be the bet I'd go with.
Nice. So wait, are you going with Cruz or Choi? No,
I'm going with Cruz. That's a safe bet. That's a safe bet. Come on. Always looking to make those safe calls. Of course, be sure to fire up those questions. And for anyone who doesn't know, the Reds game was postponed. So if you see Luis Castillo in that spot, just know he's not pitching tonight. Something to say that. Justin asked, he said, did they say Markakis has officially been scratched? Yes, that came straight from the Atlanta Braves Twitter account. He is now on the IL, so that is something to pay attention to. Someone had asked about a couple of Blue Jays players, Biggio, Vlad, Krychek, and Gurriel, and asking who do you like there?
I think Grichuk is going to be like by far the most popular based on the price. So I think that is going to be the main decision there is just like if you have them, you're going to be competing with way, way more people than if you don't. So maybe leaving Grichuk off your lineup could be a good way to get a little bit of advantage over people.
Someone had asked about Blake Snell's numbers at Yankee Stadium. I don't know if you happen to have that in front of you or not. I don't. I mean, look, I mean, the one thing about Blake Snell is I'm always thinking about how many strikeouts can he get?
Yeah, I mean, a lot. We know he's a great player, and the fact that he's a left-handed pitcher in Yankee Stadium, that's a plus. But he's only going 75 pitches if you're lucky. Definitely. If he was cheap, it would be one thing, but I just stick with the guys like Darvish that are just going to go deep in the game.
Well, I think any times when you're talking about a pitcher that's on, a pitch restriction, is all it takes is one bad inning, and all of a sudden, instead of maybe a 4 or 5 inning, it's like a 3 inning start, and now you start getting into that bullpen.
For sure, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to be pessimistic there.
Royals or Reds? Or Reds is off, so that doesn't count. But how about the Royals stack?
All right, let me pull that up.
Royals play today? That was canceled. That was canceled.
Oh, okay, Reds.
Okay. Yeah. Over there in the Slack, they had that game has been postponed. Which that's like becoming the story. Like every day on MLB is like, what game is going to be postponed?
Really, yeah, it's been rough, but if you're paying attention, maybe you can get an edge over people just by paying attention to the news a little bit more. I'm sure there's some people that are going to be kicking themselves with Markakis tonight. So,
yeah, it happens to all of us at some point where, for some reason we couldn't get to our lineups in time. Shane's asking about Gosling going for the Dodgers. Says looking for a good value pitcher for a pricey stack.
He's just not like that cheap. I guess maybe I was thinking DraftKings and other sites he's cheaper. He's in a decent spot. The matchup versus Seattle couldn't be any better. So I definitely think that there's reasons to go to Gonsolin.
Of course, we are sponsored by Yahoo. You got to check out as they sponsor all the MLB shows here, as they are the most trusted name in fantasy sports. Yahoo DFS now includes CSV upload and CSV edit features for those looking to play multiple lineups, make better choices, choose Yahoo Daily Fantasy. Of course, we do have free premium content over at Awesemo.com right now. MLB ownership projections. That is something that you have to take advantage of. Also, if you want to get access to all the Awesemo Plus tools and content for the MLB DFS slate, get an Awesemo Plus MLB weekly pass for $15.95. This includes full access to Awesemo's leading player projections, ownership projections, and the top pitchers tool and more. Get your pass today. Alex, as we're getting closer here in terms of lock, as you're seeing the ownership changes, what is there something that's sticking out to you?
Yeah, the thing that's really jumping out to me is like usually when I run a crunch, I'm getting the most popular teams as my highest owned. Philadelphia like definitely fits that bill. It's just like they're in the best spot of the night and they're cheap. So I'm just a little bit worried they're going to go over own tonight. And although they're in a great spot, it's baseball, anything can happen. So that's going to be something I'm looking at. And Toronto as well. They're just popping off my page as far as popularity.
Zach Eflin for the Phillies. Someone was asking about him in Slack of kind of, what's your take on the spot he's in tonight?
It's pretty rough. I mean, the Boston Red Sox are a weak team now, but their strikeout numbers are below average. And the Fenway Park is a rough place to pitch, so Eflin might be a little bit too risky for me.
Someone also asked about how far do you have Corbin Burnes going today?
About like 75 pitches, I'd say. So not a guy you can feel real confident about going deep in the game.
In terms of low-owned stacks, is there one that jumps out to you above all else?
I think that Cleveland, they're just kind of expensive and in a decent spot, but not a great one. So I expect people will be able to identify that Philadelphia and Toronto are in better spots. And because of that, they're just going to be a little bit lower owned than they should be. And that's the situation I'm definitely going to like to take advantage
of. In terms of, someone asked about a Nats stack on FanDuel.
So the Nats, they're going up against Atlanta. They're in a good spot. The prices are a little bit high, and it seems like after you get past the 5 hole, like the quality of player goes down pretty significantly. But I think that there's some value there. Maybe picking Eric Thames at the bottom of the order as the contrarian play. He has a lot of power, so that could be a nice move.
For the people who are just tuning in, of course, the lineup change that has happened is with the Braves, with Nick Markakis being out. Matt Adams will now be in the 5 hole tonight for the Braves as they're going with Swanson, Freeman, Denard, Ozuna, Adams, Duvall, Camargo, Riley, and Ender to top out. And for everyone wondering, that is from the official Braves Twitter account. So that is official. That is the official news. As someone who does do work for a sports team, when the team puts it out there on their Twitter account, that is the official news. So you can hold that off. Someone asked about the Twins and that spot, and especially in terms of the pitching matchup for the Twins going up against the Brewers.
So the Twins, Maeda is a good pitcher. He doesn't go super deep in games, and the Brewers are above average as far as talent. So I think that given that Maeda is pretty expensive tonight, not going to be high on my list, but he's not in a bad spot.
Outside of Yelich, is there anyone else in that Brewers lineup that intrigues you?
Sorry, I'm like clicking around to find it. I think that it looks like they're going just super low owned. So maybe Justin Smoke, that's the guy that has some pop. Brian Braun, he's having a rough year. Both of those guys are having really rough years, but the ownership looks to be real low. So I can see taking some shots in Smoke and Braun.
Jeff over in Slack was talking about Biggio of the Blue Jays and how he is with the lefty-lefty matchup.
Lefty-lefty is probably the toughest matchup in baseball. So that definitely is a negative. But these days, like you're only going against the starting pitcher about half the game. So maybe that drives down the ownership and you can get lucky there. But I think that Biggio is leading off too, and that makes it not as big a deal because you don't really need him to have a lot of power.
Kenny says, who's in a better spot to break out tonight, Hoskins or Guerrero?
Oh, well, Hoskins, he's been I keep seeing people talk about him on how unlucky he's getting. So although I haven't done a deep dive into it myself, I'll trust the community and say that maybe Hoskins being part of I think that he has a pretty decent chance tonight.
Jeremiah asking, in a single entry on FanDuel, which team stack would you start your lineup with?
Single entry on FanDuel. So what I do is I go to my top stacks tool, and we got maybe the Mets, because it seems like the ownership's really going to Philly and LA. But the Mets have a great chance of being the best stack tonight and a lot lower ownership.
In terms of that Mets stack, is there a particular part of the order that you believe is kind of a better stack than the other?
So the Mets stack, it looks like the first 7 batters up to Dominic Smith all have good power. So I think you can really mix it up with the whole order. Pete Alonso is a guy that it looks like he's just really expensive tonight, and the order in the lineup isn't great. So maybe he could be a guy that you could take a chance on, and he has a lot of power. So he might be the key to victory with the Mets.
Just kind of as I go through various salaries here on FanDuel, was there a salary that you were surprised by today?
Honestly, like I didn't really do too deep a dive, but I think that the salaries on FanDuel all are really low on average. In baseball, you can pretty much get whoever you want. So that what that's going to do is it's going to make the middle range where it's like kind of average, so like a lot lower owned. And I think that that could be an advantage of maybe going to teams like the Mets where they're not quite as high owned, but still really terrific.
Asked about DraftKings tournament, about whether you like the Rays and Twins as a stack. Man, I know we've talked about both those teams a little bit here today. Obviously the Rays going up against Tanaka and the Twins. I mean, that's that's always a favorite stack of a lot of people.
Yeah, I think the Rays they've been a good team this year so far. So I think maybe going up against a pitcher like Tanaka that has a good reputation, like they could be a good spot. In Minnesota, same thing, where it's like a really good team, but the matchup tonight isn't great, so they could be a sneaky team to target.
Is Blake Snell a sneaky, kind of low ownership guy to take a chance on, even with the pitch restriction?
That's it. It's interesting because like obviously like he could have a big performance, but I just go off the odds where his upside is a little bit more limited than some other guys because he's not going to go super deep in the game. So I'd rather take a chance on maybe a stack that's low than a pitcher like Snell where there's like a big red flag already, and it's hard to really get over that.
Someone asked about Alonso or Santana.
Well, I think Alonso is he's kind of the guy pegged as a low-owned flyer today because his spot in the order isn't quite as good and the price is high. So that would definitely be a guy that would make your lineup have a unique way to win. So that's my preferred option.
Just kind of as I look at various Mets here, Brand Nemo 3000 on FanDuel. Is he a key component of building a Met stack?
Well, he's really cheap, and the ownership's going to be really high on Nemo, especially on DraftKings compared to the rest of the team. So I don't think he's really like essential. So maybe that could be one way to get different is you leave him out of your stack.
Someone in Slack goes, Alex Baker is making like 2,000 lineups right now.
Yeah, I mean, like we got 10 minutes left. It's crunch time. Oh, wait, I'm not allowed to say crunch time. My bad. It's fantasy cruncher time. So that's what it's all about.
For someone who may be newer to Fantasy Cruncher, what would be your best advice to them of how to use that tool effectively?
Well, I think that for baseball, you just got to figure out how to do stacking. That's probably the most important thing. And then you want to set the randomness up a little bit because in baseball, like if you just pick the highest projected teams, which Fantasy Cruncher's default setting is, then you're going to end up with a lot of the same players. But in baseball, on any day, like any player could have a huge performance. So you want exposure to a lot of different players. Now, we've done a bunch of videos on Fantasy Cruncher on the site, and I did a series with Chris Randone talking about how to best use Fantasy Cruncher in baseball. So make sure to check that out if you want to up your game.
Snell or Maeda?
I think they're like pretty comparable today. Like Snell is the better pitcher as far as strikeouts, but he's more limited. Maeda, maybe not the best matchup. So I'd go with Maeda just because he has a little bit more upside because of being able to go a little bit deeper.
One team that I feel like we really haven't talked about, and that'd be the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah, I mean,
that's probably a reason why.
Yeah, I mean, they're a team you want to talk about taking pitchers against. So right now we got Nate Pearson though, and he's not a great pitcher. So I think the Orioles. I don't love the idea, but I don't think it's crazy. They got a team total of almost 5, so there's definitely some upside for them tonight.
Is there someone you would label as your favorite bat in that lineup that's going tonight?
Let me pull that up. So we got the bottom of the order is really cheap, so I'd probably not have a guy like Leica. I would maybe go with, well, they really have no power bats, so it's pretty hard, some pickings. Maybe Santander, he's got some power, and then maybe Velasquez at catcher. That's all I got. Is this even a catcher? I can't even remember.
The catcher tonight will be Severino.
Oh, my bad. So Velasquez at the bottom of the order has the stolen base upside, which is something that most of the lineup doesn't have, which the extra base or stolen base upside.
In terms of overall, for some reason, I just never like taking a 9-hitter. And I think primarily it's because of will he get 4 at-bats in a game?
Right, yeah. I mean, as part of a stack, that's mitigated a little bit because you do have more batting opportunities when the stack goes off. So I'm not as worried in the stack about taking a guy lower in the order.
Of course, we're about 7 minutes away before lineups are going to lock here as the first games do start here. At 7:05, we've got multiple games going off at 7:05. We've got the Rays and the Yankees, Indians, Pirates, Mariners, Dodgers, a rare 7 Eastern time start for the Dodgers here playing at home, Nats and Braves, Mets, and Marlins. Is there, in terms of, is there a game that's the primary game that is going to be on the big TV for you today that you're paying attention to?
Well, I think that the Cubs game, it really seems to be the spot for pitching with Darvish and then Ponce de Leon on the other side, I think. So that could be a good one to watch, but probably not too many homers.
Gonzalez or Tariq? Obviously, Tariq making his MLB debut, and I guess from my point, I was like, I guess I probably want to see him what he does in the majors before I'm willing to take a chance on him.
I think that I read a report today that he was limited to 12 or to 50 pitches, which is about 12 batters, so 3 innings. So now I'm looking at today, but in the future, I think he could be pretty good.
Are there some pay down options that stick out to you more than others?
The pay down options tonight kind of stink, honestly. So I just finished building some lineups. I have a lot of combinations of the more expensive pitchers like Darvish, Cease, Darvish, Maeda. And then I got some Gonsolin. So I think that I probably will try to be a little bit more balanced at pitcher tonight and not punt.
Of course, be sure to hit that thumbs up button here on YouTube. That does help us out a lot. Also, be sure to hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed here to Awesemo. And also hit that notification bell. Let you know every time that a new video is up there. We're constantly putting video coverage up here, whether it's MLB, NBA, NHL, PGA, MMA, NASCAR. It's all up there. So be sure to hit that subscribe button. Hit that thumbs up button right there in YouTube. David says, way too many first base options tonight.
Yeah, I mean that is always an issue. Is like certain positions like first base have all the power hitters, so that makes it harder to find good plays at the other positions.
Obviously on FanDuel, you got the catcher / first base. Do you like more catch? Is there a couple of catchers tonight that maybe you consider that you like that in various spots?
Real Muto is always a good catcher, so that could be a good option. But for a catcher, I'm a lot of times just stacking up the catcher from whatever stack I'm picking, just because for the most part there aren't any good one-off plays. So that's kind of a way to maybe find a diamond in the rough is if your stack goes off, they get a few more at-bats, and that could get you the base hits and runs that you need.
Of course, if you do have any last-minute questions, we're just here less than 4 minutes away from the rosters being locked. Obviously, I know you're constantly looking at those ownerships, and has there been an update to where something really stuck out to you?
I mean, it looks like a pretty normal night as far as ownership. I did notice that Darvish went down in our last ownership update. So that makes me a little bit more excited about Darvish because I do like him a lot tonight. And if he's low owned as well, compared to what I thought, that's pretty nice.
In terms of Darvish ownership numbers going down, does it all make you go, okay, why am I so high on him and other people are, or do you think that's just simply people thinking he's going to be high owned, let me fade away from him and hope that he doesn't have a good start?
Yeah, I think it's just that people are probably trying to mix it up by going to a play they think is a little bit sneakier. But the ownership is going to be spread out today a lot. So in that case, I'm happy going to the safe play. And the thing about pitching is like pretty much half the time, these guys have good games. So if you have 50% ownership on a guy and half the time they're doing pretty well, that means you can be pretty comfortable about that. So
we can end on this question because it's definitely a question we have not gotten today. Someone asking about a pirate stack.
Oh shoot, my FanDuel thing didn't work here. I think the Pirates are probably not really the top option tonight, but it's baseball, so anything can happen.
Yeah, just looking at the Pirates lineup as actually that game's about to go off here. You got Frazier leading off, then Newman, then Bell. I mean, obviously Bell's always going to be someone that people do consider. Just noticing that 11-mile-an-hour winds going out to center field.
One note I have for everyone watching is that remember to swap out Markakis from your Atlanta stacks because he was in the lineup, got scratched. So I noticed I had him in a few. So make sure you're not like me here.
Yeah, he's going on the IL. It's for being exposed to COVID. He has tested negative, but he is going on the IL. So that's something that you have to, if not just tonight, but going forward with the Braves of exactly where you're going to go there. Final thing here: if someone wanted to go against Darvish, what if they wanted to put some Cardinals in that lineup?
Yeah, I mean. That is a strategy that really works in small field tournaments where like if the chalk pitcher Darvish, he's going to be even higher owned in the smaller field and higher stakes tournaments. So like the times he stinks, like you can get a huge leg up by taking the other stack. Now, I like that a lot better if a pitcher's high owned and not good. Like obviously, but even in this case, like in MLB today, like pretty much any stack can go off. So I don't hate it.
Of course, be sure to check out our sponsor, Yahoo Daily Fantasy. They're the most trusted name in fantasy sports. They now include CSV upload and CSV edit features for those looking to play multiple lineups. Make better choices. Choose Yahoo Daily Fantasy. Of course, you got to go over to Awesemo.com. Go to Awesemo.com/join. Sign up for that MLB Weekly Pass today. Alex, before we get out of here, anything else you want to leave our listeners with?
Just lamps are locked, so everybody, good luck. Should be a good night of baseball, and thanks for supporting the site. Thanks, Yahoo, for sponsoring the show, and Jason, it was a pleasure, man.
As always, Alex, always great to talk a little daily fantasy sports for you. And that is going to wrap it up for today's edition of MLB Live Before Lock right here on Awesemo.com. See you later.